I'm reading part 4 of Barbara Marx Hubbard, Godmother of Transhumanism and Synthetic Spirituality by John Klizak. And this is Evolutionary Entrepreneurship, Corporate Technocracy, and the Transhuman Singularity. If you think the global feedback synchronization of human consciousness sounds like a virtuous means of unifying hearts and minds across the planet into a utopian one-world community, it should be noted that the HeartMath Institute and HeartMath Inc. are steeped in corporatism. Hence, rather than arouse sincere socio-emotional bonds across all socioeconomic classes, and instead of elucidating minds with true spiritual enlightenment, HeartMath's commercial neurotech is primed to lull the precariat into blissed-out trances that render them submissive to the corporate technocratic mandates of the surveillance capitalist Fourth Industrial Revolution. By distributing global coherence apps and other neurofeedback wearables through multi-level marketing schemes and networks of partnership with multinational companies and business consulting firms, HeartMath's Global Coherence Initiative is driven by a brand of corporatism known as evolutionary entrepreneurship, which has been promoted by Hubbard and her colleagues at Singularity University. Notwithstanding the flowery love and light rhetoric from Hubbard and GCI spokespeople, the corporate nexus of evolutionary entrepreneurs connected to HeartMath is primed to steer global biorhythm coherence to comply with a techno-fascist social credit economy of the Fourth Industrial Revolution. To recruit participants to the Global Coherence Network of wearable biofeedback sensors linked to smartphones, HMI and HeartMath Inc. employ multi-level marketing schemes that convert HeartMath practitioners into certified HeartMath mentors and trainers who offer heart coherence coaching through HeartMath resilience workshops. It is keen to note here that multi-level marketing stratagems which Hubbard advocates in Conscious Evolution, Awakening the Power of Our Social Potential, are rooted in the self-actualization workshops of the human potential movement. In fact, the multi-level marketing giant Amway has been one of the biggest corporate adherents to the channeling of the human potential movement's self-actualization mantra to con salespeople into pyramid scams. It is also worth noting that the heir to Richard DeVos' Amway fortune is former U.S. Secretary of Education Betsy DeVos, who has financed NeuroCore Biofeedback EdTech. In my article, Secretary DeVos, NeuroCore, and Competency-Based Workforce Training, I documented how the NeuroCore Corporation, where Betsy sat on the board of directors, is part of a burgeoning socio-emotional learning industry that traffics in biofeedback ed tech, which includes the EM-Wave wearables distributed by HeartMath. For instance, HeartMath LLC holds the corporate license for the Macquarie Institute, which facilitates HeartMath workshops, such as the Resilient Educator program that teaches attendees how to utilize EM-Wave biofeedback wearables in order to enhance classroom learning at primary and secondary schools. By leveraging multi-level marketing tactics to propagate GCI's Global Coherence Network of transhuman potentializing biofeedback wearables, the HeartMath Institute is actualizing what Hubbard deemed to be an enterprise of evolutionary entrepreneurship that melds neurotechnology and collective biorhythmic consciousness into the futurist singularity as envisioned by Google's Director of Engineering, Ray Kurzweil. In case you didn't know who this guy is, I will read this description. Ray Kurzweil, co-founder and chancellor, Singularity University. Ray Kurzweil is one of the world's leading inventors, thinkers, and futurists with a 30-year track record of accurate predictions, called the restless genius by the Wall Street Journal and the ultimate thinking machine by Forbes magazine. Ray was selected as one of the top entrepreneurs by Inc. magazine, which described him as the rightful heir to Thomas Edison. PBS selected him as one of the 16 revolutionaries who made America. Ray was the principal inventor of the first CCD flatbed scanner, the first Omnifont optical character recognition program, the first print-to-speech reading machine for the blind, the first text-to-speech synthesizer, the first music synthesizer capable of recreating the grand piano and other orchestral instruments, and the first commercially marketed large vocabulary speech recognition. Among his many honors, Ray received the 2015 Technical Grammy Award for Outstanding Achievements in the field of music technology. He is the recipient of the National Medal of Technology, was inducted into the National Inventors Hall of Fame, holds 21 honorary doctorates and honors from 3 U.S. presidents. Ray has written 5 national best-selling books, including New York Times bestsellers, This Singularity is Near, 2005, and How to Create a Mind in 2012. He is co-founder and chancellor of Singularity University and a director of engineering at Google, heading up a team developing machine intelligence and natural language understanding. In 2018, at a Singularity University Global Summit, which was titled The Future of Entrepreneurship, Living in Exponential Creativity, Hubbard was interviewed by Mark Donohue, an associate of both Kurzweil, who is co-founder and chancellor of Singularity U, and Peter Diamandis, who is the executive founder and director of Singularity U. During this interview, Donohue and Hubbard hyped how Maslow-inspired evolutionary entrepreneurs are at the forefront of ushering in a transhumanist singularity through Maslowian business practices that pivot on synergistic convergences. Donohue highlighted how, quote, Barbara was a seminal leader in the 70s at running what are now called SynCons. So, bringing together the best of what's working to create a synergistic convergence, to create a whole new out of the disparate parts. So that's a whole synergistic convergence process, which we're inviting and believe Singularity U is a part of. But we feel is another level of convening the exponential technology, the exponential leaders, to actually have a convergence that's more directional and curated by Singularity U to take it to the next level. Concurring with Donohue's exaltation of evolutionary entrepreneurs, Hubbard declared that the exponential entrepreneur has the power to shift the system, and if the exponential entrepreneurs feel themselves to be connected with evolution, the guidelines of greater consciousness applied to exponential entrepreneurship actually is the shift point. This shift point, pause, I'm just going to say, I mean, everything doesn't necessarily have to be related, but you do hear that shift point and paradigm shift a lot, and there's a shift coming, from the NAR. Just notice that. So anyway, the shift, according to Hubbard, will result in humankind becoming a new species. Well, I'm just saying, in the NAR, they're talking about a new breed. This isn't all connected to NAR, but there are overlaps here. So, sorry. If you combine high tech with evolutionary spirituality, with greater consciousness, if you combine exponential evolutionary technologies with the new power of humanity, you have a new species. It's not only what we are becoming, it's not only that we are becoming new individuals and to some degree a new species with this power, but the whole system is going to radical newness.
Well, good afternoon. I'm Mark Donahue, and this is Barbara MARX HUBBARD.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon.
I've been so blessed to have Barbara in my life for 25 years as one of my core mentors and teachers. And of course, she's been one of the leading evolutionists, systems thinkers, and social architects since the 50s. And I believe is the elder in the room. And I'm so appreciative of all the wisdom you've taught me.
Well, I'm always the elder in the room. It didn't used to be that way, though. Yes, thank you.
Well, if Ray Kurzweil has his way, I don't think you'll be that older.
Well, that's
much longer.
right. After a while, it won't matter how old you are because you are not getting, you're getting newer.
Yeah, well, you say that. You get newer every year.
Yes, I don't get older. I feel like I'm getting newer.
Yes, and Barbara and I have been collaborating since the 90s when I co-edited her book, Conscious Evolution, The Awakening of Our Social Potential, which was really about conscious evolution, which is one of the seminal thoughts we'll talk about today. And I'm going to be speaking for about 5 minutes to give a little context to part of dialogue and part of presentation. It's not really quite a fireside chat. And it's really an honor and a lot of fun to be here at Singularity. I've been studying with Peter for over 4 years and very active in Singularity. And we believe that the whole nature of our co-creative conversation that we're going to have today, which is about the future of entrepreneurship at a foundational level, is very intertwined also with an evolutionary perspective on how we look at life. And Barbara obviously has been a leading voice in that area for 60 years. We see Singularity playing a seminal role in the future of humanity that's commensurate with our regenerative capacities. And through the actions of exponential entrepreneurs and the global community that's gathered here, we see the next level of potential. The first 10 years were great. What we see and what we're going to be inviting Singularity into here, and some of the visions we have for a guiding story around the exponential megatrend on the planet, we believe will be of value to the entrepreneurs and everyone who's part of this movement today. In the last 25 years of my study of entrepreneurship, having been entrepreneur in residence at the #1 entrepreneurship school in the world for 5 years, and having been a practitioner in all forms of entrepreneurship, I realized that it really has the greatest power to impact evolution itself and humanity's success. Entrepreneurship is an amazingly powerful tool.
Through the synergistic convergences of exponential entrepreneurs, corporate industries, consumer stakeholders, and futurist think tanks like Singularity U, the Human Potential Movement, is expanding into a social potential movement, propelling Hubbard's transhumanist dreams of collective conscious evolution through global technology markets. In her book, Conscious Evolution, Awakening of Our Social Potential, which was edited by Donahue, Hubbard devoted 6 chapters to Part 3, the social potential movement. Throughout Part 3, Hubbard laid out her vision of social evolution through the technocratic globalization of public-private partnerships. For example, Hubbard printed a chart of Donahue's Golden Innovations wheel, which graphs how the social potential movement is being rolled forward through a global collegium that synergistically converges economics, business, science and technology, government and law, media, communications, education, health, and spirituality, and religion, to cultivate a global community of co-creators. Through the sphere of economics, business, Hubbard promoted corporate foundations, including the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the MacArthur Foundation, and the Center for What Works, along with impact investing firms such as the Social Venture Network. And that also sounds a lot like the 7 Mountain Mandate, except it's 8. It's just the way they divide up different segments of, society. So, in sum, Hubbard called for public-private partnership to push the collective conscious evolution of social potential into the futurist singularity through the globalization of transhumanist neurofeedback technologies such as the EM wave and inner balance biofeedback wearables that are distributed through the multi-level marketing schemes of HeartMath's Global Coherence Initiative. It is worth noting here that Singularity University, Kurzweil, has partnered with the founder and CEO of Singularity Net, Ben Goertzel, who presented his AI research at the 2013 annual conference of the World Future Society, which was co-founded by Hubbard. Goertzel is also listed on the roster of the Transformative Technology Labs industry partners and advisors, along with the president and CEO of HeartMath. This is the back of her book. You can pause here if you would like to read that. From 2020 to 2040, from new normal to singularity. For almost 20 years, Kurzweil has forecasted that the year 2045 will mark the emergence of the transhuman singularity. Prior to Kurzweil's prediction, Hubbard foretold that 2020 would mark the year of the global consciousness shift that would technoetically thrust human evolution into the transhuman singularity of 2045. During her speech at the 2015 IONS International Conference, Hubbard proposed that we develop a new world purpose by 2020, and the date has been picked by some other people, such as Stephen Dinan, who is a former director of the Esalen Institute Center for Theory and Research, a former director of the Institute of Noetic Sciences, and the author of the foreword to Hubbard's Birth 2012 and beyond. In her ION speech, Hubbard postulated that if we took the next 5 years and said our purpose would be, by 2020, we would connect enough of the co-creators in health, education, economics, and in every sector of human endeavor in every culture, and show up by 2020 as the beginning of the next stage of human self-evolution. Then we would become the Gnostic human. We would become humans that actually incarnate the genius of evolution, the supramental powers of evolution. Now that 2020 has ushered in the post-virus new normal, which is rolling out the Great Reset for the technocratic Fourth Industrial Revolution, it appears that Hubbard's predictions for trans-technological evolution are coming true. And as Kurzweil forecasted, the singularity is near. To be sure, if you think that Hubbard's new age of the singularity sounds like it promises to be empowering or utopian, stay tuned for the next installments in this investigative series as I document how she was an advocate for Malthusian eugenic population reduction. I will also expose how Hubbard's affiliations with the World Future Society, the Human Potential Movement, and the Foundation for Conscious Evolution were connected to networks of alleged Oedipes and SA cults. Wow. Okay, so that's the end of part 4. And I think I will probably continue with the Malthusian eugenic population reduction article.
Divine spark. The true nature of the universe is a collection of divine spark, and the nature of divine spark is to connect together to create wholes greater than the sum of the parts, starting with single cells all the way on up to planet Earth, which is a living organism. So I am foreseeing that the divine spark in each of us will at some point soon connect to the divine spark in others, because it's the same spark with unique creativity, and we'll discover that we're able to make a world that works for all. And that's what I think we should all be working for.
But the constraint is input-output. So we're I/O bound. Particularly output bound. I mean, like your output level is so low. It's like, particularly on a phone, like your two thumbs just sort of tapping away. This is ridiculously slow. Our input is much better because we have a high bandwidth visual interface to the brain. Like our eyes take in a lot of data. So there's many orders of magnitude difference between input and output. So mostly effectively merging in a symbiotic way with digital intelligence revolves around eliminating the I/O constraint. So it'd be some sort of direct cortical interface.
And you called it a neural lace?
Neural lace, yeah.
It's totally not Google Glass, right?
No, I'm talking about
No, but
something
it's like
which...
you wear it? Or you...
No, I mean, it would be... I mean, there are a few ways to approach this, but some sort of interface directly with your cortical neurons particularly.
But doesn't that imply surgical insertion?
Not necessarily. You could go through the veins and arteries because that provides a complete roadway to all of your neurons. Your neurons are very heavy users of energy, so they need high blood flow. So you automatically, with your veins and arteries, have a road network to your neurons.
Still some kind of surgery, right?
It doesn't involve.
Risk-free.
It doesn't involve, like chopping your skull off or anything like that.
This is why it becomes so important to understand the novelty and the viability of neuroscience as being leveraged as weapons. We then have the use of nanoparticulate agents, aerosolizable nanomaterials that can be breathed in and disrupt blood flow or neurological network activity, that can be used as an in-close weapon, or perhaps that can be used as a more broad weapon of disruption and or destruction. We also have the capability to utilize nanomaterials to get electrodes into a head and to create a vast array of viable sensors and transmitters. This is DARPA's N-Cubed program, next generation non-invasive neuromodulation, utilizing these techniques and technologies to create vast arrays of implantable electrodes that need not be put into the brain surgically, that are then able to read from the brain and write into the brain remotely in real time.
In their own words, and by their own admission, the original intent of human-computer interface focused to injectable nanotechnology as a preferred deployment strategy. The more recent statements of Dr. James Giordano and research grants awarded to Battelle Memorial Institute demonstrates that an intrinsically covert nanotech agenda is at work, violating any and all frameworks of informed consent. Working in tandem with standards developed by the IEE, intra-body area network protocols developed by the medical surveillance industry, and larger mandates forwarded by the UN, the biodigital convergence agenda is a guarded state secret, conducting its war against humanity and the rule of law. For nothing is secret that will not be revealed, nor anything hidden that will not be known and come to light.
All of us interconnected, interdependent as one complete system, which where we perceive, instead of all kinds of other people and other things and nature that we're trying to absorb from and receive from at every single moment, which currently defines our whole modus operandi in this world. Instead of that, we'll move into a perception where we perceive all these connections between us. We perceive this space between us filled with a certain energy and force that we can attain, that we can work with, and that we can invite into our lives more and more and more. And when we move into that and attain it, so that the more we do, the more we attain that, as we said, that spiritual state of Adam Rishon. And then when we attain the full perception and sensation of it, then there's no need for us to keep coming back into these bodies that we know in this world, and we enter a new state, and we enter a new state.
Run.
There's just one name that can keep you out of hell, and it's the name of Jesus. The name of Jesus. The name of Jesus.